Hi Sarah, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. This show obviously has two different storylines with the same character going, and for the most part, there's even more of Claire when you get into like her younger self that's even younger than your version. But your character, young Claire, as she is aptly called, versus Catherine Hahn's character are one and the same, and those performances really have to work as a whole. And so, did you two at all talk about the journey that your character is going on in the flashbacks versus her character, or were you both kind of just separate in your processes and bringing Claire to life?
I think there was definitely conversations and collaboration. We never really got down to like a physical vocabulary or trying to like change our voices so that they, I don't think there was an interest in like mimicking each
Mhm.
other. But what was important was finding what the energy of Claire is and how she can move through the world in these different ways. There was certainly a lot of internal pressure to, like hope that, to try to make this person make sense with this other version of her. But like there was no crystal ball, right? And it wasn't like, Catherine could act out the young Claire scenes and I could act out Claire's scenes, and then we would just study them and switch them. I think it was really we were encouraged to create our characters, and I think there was a lot of trust that anyone behind the monitor would sort of push me in one way or the other. And I think a lot of it was the writing. There's the words they use. It's how they express themselves. It's when these characters decide to get into conflict or when they pull away and how they deflect. Um, and I think that that's a big through line that we were able to sort of hold on to throughout the show to make sure that there was that connective tissue between the two versions of Claire.
Sorry, I have a cat I'm fighting off, so I made a face
It's
because he tried to jump over my arm.
It's totally. I've got two cats right now, so I totally understand.
As I was like, "Oh, great, it's my turn to talk in a second," and then he just was like, "I'm gonna try and jump," and I was like, "No." Um, I love being in a house with a cat. But what's it works really well was what I was going to say right after
Oh,
that.
thank you.
I think you guys do a great job of bringing your own elements to both versions of Claire while also still making it a complete character that we get to see and just really get enjoy like the journey that she's on and kind of her grief into where we see her as an adult. But you have the brunt of like most of her grief in your aspect of the show. And so coming at that and knowing like, yeah, this grief is what carries Claire throughout the rest of her life. What was kind of the challenge for you as an actor in approaching that aspect of her as a character?
I think because this show is the examination of how all of these different parts can make a person, and how
Mhm.
through these letters, Claire is able to reflect on these past moments in her life, these defining moments. So I think what was important is that I could really brought myself to those scenes and was as specific and as detailed as possible so that it would make sense to the viewer that this is something that this person is still able to draw things from.
Mhm.
It had to feel, I think, sort of all consuming at times. But in the same way, I think there are scenes and memories in this show that, when Claire was going through when my version of Claire was going through it, maybe she thought there was no significance to remembering it, but then here we are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Unlike I imagine with the lost, that you go through life sometimes and you're like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna think about that for a while. And then there's also you're driving around and you think about that random day that you had out with, like memories
Yeah.
hit you all the time for no reason. But there were certainly some scenes in this show that I think I just really wanted to throw myself into and try to get the full experience of them, so that there was a reason to remember them and a reason to dissect them.
Yeah, and I think you guys, I love the show. I think you guys did an incredible job. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for audiences to get to see it.
Thanks, Rachel. I really
Of
appreciate
course.
it.